I still remember the piercing laughter that echoed through the sterile halls of our family home, a sound that seemed to cling to the walls like a persistent stain. It felt so stark and wrong against the backdrop of a place that had always been my sanctuary. My father's voice rose above the rest, dripping with scorn. "You think you can make a career out of folklore? You'll end up in a padded cell, just like we always feared." Each chortle, each derisive comment cut deeper than my scalpel ever could. They had no idea how much I had lost, how I had been exiled from my profession. The forensic toxicologist who let a crucial autopsy file slip through her fingers. That singular failure turned me into a pariah, the subject of gossip and mockery. The academic world scoffed at my deep dive into the realm of folkloric toxins, dismissing them as mere superstition. But I was driven by something darker than mere obsession. I was haunted. I poured myself into my studies, my fingertips brushing against pages of grim tales and macabre history. As I unearthed every story, every toxin that folklore had whispered of, I felt an unshakable presence lurking just beyond the shadows. It was as if I were drawing lines between the dots of a great cosmic map, each thread a warning. I was no longer just uncovering knowledge. I was entangled in something darker, something real. Years passed. I became known as the foremost expert in folkloric toxins, recognized for exposing the hidden horrors that others could only dare to whisper about. My family's laughter had faded into the silence of the past, but their ridicule clung to me like a shadow. I had become a warning, a specter of the consequences of disbelief, a living testament to the nightmares that lurked beyond the veil of human understanding. It was a cool evening when I made my way back home, the air thick with tension. I stood at the threshold of the familiar, now haunted by the weight of what I carried. I could feel the lingering echoes of their disbelief swirling around me as I stepped through the door. They were gathered in the living room, faces that had once mocked me now painted with apprehension. Perhaps even a glimmer of recognition. "Look who's back from the dead," my sister scoffed. But there was no bite to her words. The laughter had been bled dry, replaced by an uncomfortable silence as I set my bag down. I drew forth a small vial containing a viscous, dark liquid, its swirling depths reminiscent of a stormy sea. "Do you want to know what I found?" Their faces paled. My father leaned forward, brows furrowed, but his bravado shrank beneath the weight of my words. "What's that supposed to be?" I held it up, allowing the dim light to catch the edges. "This is the essence of the very toxins you dismissed as folklore. A concoction of despair and death, more potent than any scientific discovery you could ever fathom. It can manipulate the mind, twist the spirit, and drag a person to the depths of madness." "What do you mean?" My mother's voice quivered, and I could see the flicker of dread in her eyes. "Remember the tales I used to tell of the witch's bane and the sorrowful root? They're more than just stories. I've traced their histories, and they are real. People have died because of them, unnaturally. They were used as poisons, as curses." My family exchanged glances, the playful scorn replaced by a wary curiosity. I watched them, the realization dawning on them that their dismissal of my work had been a grave mistake. A shiver ran through the room, as if the air itself recoiled in fear. "Look closely," I said, drawing them in like moths to a flame. The vial began to bubble, an eerie phosphorescent glow pulsing from within. "What you see is what I faced, what I survived. I've touched the darkness and come back changed." Suddenly, the room grew heavy with a malevolent presence. The shadows twisted, curling around the edges of their laughter, pulling it into the void. I felt it before I saw it. The room began to shift, the walls pulsating as if they were alive, echoing the very fears they had once mocked. "Stop this!" my father bellowed, but the authority in his voice crumbled like dry leaves. From the corners of the room, whispers emerged, wrapping around us like a shroud. "They laughed at you. They doubted you." They were my own words, twisted through the air like a dark incantation. My sister gasped, clutching her chest, as the shadows morphed into anguished faces, representations of the lives lost to the very toxins I had studied. Their eyes were hollow, pleading for acknowledgement. And then the weight of their disbelief crashed down on them. Every ridicule, every dismissive comment manifested in the form of specters, each one a haunting reminder of the truths they had turned away from. My family was trapped within a nightmare of their own making, shadows of their mockery rising like a tide, dragging them beneath the surface of their own disbelief. "Please," my mother cried, "we didn't mean it. We just wanted you to be safe." The shadows drew closer, and in that moment, the cost of their skepticism became painfully clear. They were witnessing the consequence of their disbelief, the terror of what they had once considered insane, now gripping them in its icy embrace. I stood amidst the chaos, feeling the power of vindication swelling within me. I had survived the darkness that lurked in the corners of their laughter, and now they were forced to confront it. The echoes of their past scorn reverberated painfully around us, a chilling reminder of the folly of skepticism. As the shadows receded, I held the vial tightly in my hand, a symbol of the knowledge I had fought to uncover. "You'll remember this moment," I whispered, "when the world begins to fear what they once ridiculed." And as I turned to leave, I felt their gaze upon me, no longer filled with derision, but with something far deeper, the haunting fear of what they had failed to understand. I stepped back into the night, the darkness embracing me like an old friend, the echoes of their disbelief ringing in my ears, a reminder that some truths are too terrifying for the light.